Yashodanandana Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki jai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Vatsa Parad Bhadram Te. Prayahi Sutalalayam. Modamana Swapautrena. Gyatinam Sukhamavaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Vatsa Prarada Bhadram Te. Prayahi Sutalalayam. Modamana Swapautrena. Gatinam Sukhamavaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Vatsa Prarada Bhadram Te. Prayahi Sutalalayam. Modamana swapautrena.
Modamana svapautrena.
Gyatinam sukhamavaha.
Yatinam sukhamavaha.
Sri Bhagavanuvacha Vatsa Parada Bhadram Te Prayai Sutalalayam Modamana Swapotrena Yatinam Sukhamavaha. Shri Bhagavanuvacha. Personality of Godhead said,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
Vatsa,
Vatsa,
O my dear son,
oh my dear son,
Prarada,
Prarada,
O Prahlad Maharaj,
oh Prahlad Maharaj,
Bhadram Te,
Bhagavati,
all auspiciousness unto you,
all auspiciousness unto you.
Prayahi, please go,
Please go,
Sutalalayam,
Sutalalayam,
to the place known as Sutala,
the place known as Sutala,
Modamana,
Madamana,
in a spirit of jubilation, in a spirit of jubilation.
spirit of jubilation.
Jubilation means happiness. Swapo trainer,
Svapautrena,
with your grandson,
with your grandson,
Bali Maharaj,
Ali Maharaj,
Gyatinam,
Yatinam,
of your relatives and friends,
of your relatives and your friends,
Sukham,
Sukham,
happiness,
happiness,
Avaha,
Avaha,
just enjoy.
just enjoy.
You said that with great conviction. Jubilation. Okay, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear son Prahlad, all good fortune unto you. For the time being, please go to the place known as Sutala and there enjoy happiness with your grandson and other relatives and friends. Nityam drastasin mam tatra gadapanim avastitam madashana mahalada drastakama nibandhana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead assured Prahlad Maharaj, you shall be able to see me there in my usual feature, with conch shell, disc, club, and lotus in my hand. Because of your transcendental bliss due to always personally seeing me, you will have no further bondage to fruitive activities. Purport, Karma Bandha, the bondage of fruitive activities, entails the repetition of birth and death. One performs fruitive activities in such a way that he creates another body for his next life. As long as one is attached to fruitive activities, he must accept another material body. This acceptance of material bodies is called samsara bandhana. To stop this, a devotee is advised to see the Supreme Lord constantly. The Kanishta Adhikari or neophyte devotee is therefore advised to visit the temple every day and see the form of the Lord regularly. Thus, the neophyte devotee can be freed from the bondage of fruitive activities. Mukam karochi vachanam pangam lange takripatanam vande Shri Gurunde Matana. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripasinduya vatapatitanam pavanavya vaishnavya namo Vishwadaya Krishna Stadale. Samadhi Bhaktivikas Swamini Namne Namo Shivaya Smadhi Sharananda Swami Gana Namane Namo Shuddhaya Krishna Saivale Samadi Bhaktivedanta Swami Nivanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivasana Sangha Pashata Deshtarane. So the topic of the verse, or the purport, is fruitive activities and how they cause this samsara bandhana. So samsara bandhana, samsara means material life. It means the repetition of birth, death. And in between is disease and old age. So the repetition of these four things, and it goes on and 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 on forever, unless we find a means to break that cycle. So bandhana means that you're bound. You're bound to this cycle. You're bound to the wheel, the chakra of birth and death. So this is not actually a good situation to be in, to be stuck, because it means suffering goes on and on and on. Like now we're suffering from cold. Sometimes we'll be suffering from heat. Sometimes we'll be suffering from, you could give a whole long list, having some disease, and there's so many different diseases, and now everybody's getting more and more influenced or affected or impacted by this little virus that's stomping over the whole world. This is all a result of this samsara bandhana, because we're in the material world, then we're forced to accept these things. So forced to accept the suffering of adibhotika, adi-atmika, and adi-daivika, miseries. Klesha, the word klesha means misery. So adibhotika means your own body and mind. No. Adi-atmika is your own body and mind. Adibhotika is other living entities, such as COVID virus, or now they've renamed him, to give some variety, they've renamed him Omicron, isn't it? They're calling him Omicron now. The COVID has now become, as a new identity. He's also taken birth as a different kind of virus, mutated. So, and then the other one is Adidaivika. So Adidaivika means things from the demigods. So everybody's suffering from, all the time we're suffering from at least one of them. We're never free. Sometimes we have two of them, and sometimes we have all three. And you can say, well, there's variety. We have variety. Sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold. So we get some variety in the misery. But, still misery. But what happens is we get so used to it. We get so used to suffering that we think it's normal. People get so used to death, the idea of death, or that people die. And they say, oh, well, that's just part of life. That's just what happens. That's natural. Natural. But actually, it's all artificial. It's all an imposition on the soul. The soul is in this situation, and it's a serious mistake. To think that this is reality. This is our lot. This is what we should be doing. This is it. This is all there is. This, suffering. The word for suffering in French is souffrance. So it contains the word France. So everybody in France has got souffrance. Oh, but that's life, you know. We have our wine, and we have our biftec, and we have our nice house, and we have our nice car, and our insurance policies, and our dog, and it's not that bad. Yeah, even if we have to wear a mask, we can still enjoy, you know. So this is the absolute foolishness, is that when you're really suffering, to try to convince yourself, actually it's not that bad, it's okay. The Prabhupada gives the example of a man who's in hospital and he's got, a seriously damaged body. He's got arms and legs and plaster, and I don't know, he's lying there in bed, and somebody goes to visit him. How are you? Oh, not so bad, thank you. Not so bad. What? We think that if there's a little bit of sense enjoyment, there's an example. I think it's in the Mahabharata, but anyway, it's a classic example of this man, and he falls down a well, but as he's falling, he grabs onto this root that's coming out of the side of the well, so he's just hanging on. But the reason he fell down the well is because there was a big elephant with these big, tusks, was chasing him. So he is running and running, and he fell down this well. So he's holding onto the root, and he's looking up. The elephant is looking down at him. And then as he looks down at the bottom of the well, he can see there's a big black snake looking up. So he's hanging on. But while he's hanging on, there's a bee's nest. A bee has made a nest on the side of the well, just above the root. And from that bee's nest, little hive, there's some drops of honey dripping. And some of the drips come and they just go on his tongue. And he said, oh, it's so sweet. Oh, it's so nice. Delicious. So this is our situation. We've got the elephant of birth, the black snake of death. We're just hanging on somehow or another. And there's a little bit of sense gratification. Oh, it's so nice. It's so sweet. We're oblivious of actual reality of that. There's a rat is gnawing at the root that he's hanging onto. The rat gradually, bang, and he'd be thrown and eaten up by the snake. So it's a graphic example, and we think, oh, well, yeah, that's something from the Shastra, that's kind of interesting, yeah, maybe sort of I could take something from that. But no, it's actually our situation. It's actually happening, When you read these examples in the Shastra, you think, oh, yeah, that's kind of intellectually interesting, yeah. Oh, yeah, I can understand that analogy. Yeah, that's actually a really good analogy, yeah. How the frog is swallowed by the snake, yeah, also there's different things. And we tend to keep it kind of out there somewhere, but actually it's talking to us. It's talking to us because unless we're pure devotee, we're in the body, and we're identifying with the body and that little bit of fruitive pleasure. And this is what's stopping us from actually understanding the situation. Is this attachment to that enjoyment is what is stopping us having a clear consciousness. And if we had really clear consciousness, we could see immediately, this is hell. This is hell. I'm surrounded by these people who all rebelled against Krishna, and they're doing these horrible things to each other and to animals and to the environment they're just, they don't want to know about God. They don't want to have anything. They hate him. I'm surrounded by people like that. let me get out, let me out. And you become super serious to get out, but no, Harry Bowl, nice prasadam, and we become a little relaxed, thinking, well, Krishna's very kind, and I'm his devotee, and he'll look after me, and we don't want to be a fanatic, and well, we actually should be completely serious. I mean, preaching to myself, we should be really, really serious if we actually understand. But the key is this fruitive mentality, is this desire to enjoy. And what is the desire to enjoy? The desire is to enjoy separately from Krishna. Because if you serve Krishna, and we all know, we've had experience, if you serve Krishna, you actually become satisfied. You actually become satisfied by serving Krishna. So there's no need actually to go separately, to try to enjoy separately. There's no need. It's a habit. It's like an attachment with a mental thing that we think, I have to get my own enjoyment. I can't really rely on Krishna, I have to make sure that I have my own enjoyment, But if you actually let go, then Krishna will take care of everything, and you'll actually be much happier than trying to hang on to your own sense gratification. You'll actually be happier. So there's this one brahmachari I was talking to, he was preaching to me, but he was saying that he has a policy of never worrying about prasadam. He never makes any endeavor for prasadam. He doesn't cook, or unless he's asked to cook for the deities, of course. He doesn't cook, or he doesn't ever keep anything aside or for later, or have a little box, in case somebody gives me, I have a box. He doesn't make any effort. Even if he's going out, he won't tell anybody, I'm coming back, could you say, no. And he said, but every time, every day, somehow or another, he sees Krishna makes an arrangement and he gets some prasadam. Somehow or another. There's always something happens. All sorts of things happen, he says. And he says he really likes it because he always sees the hand of the Lord in the arrangements that are made. Somebody will come up to him and say, oh, would you like a samosa? And somehow or another he gets a samosa. But he didn't make the effort. Yeah. So he's given up, he's tried to give up that particular that mentality of looking out for himself and letting Krishna. So actually Krishna's better at understanding us. He's better at understanding our desires and much better at fulfilling them than we are. But we think in our doubt of Krishna's existence, or a doubt in Krishna's ability to take care of us, or our doubt of, not believing that Krishna really knows that he can take care. So we think we have to do it ourselves, but actually we are even competent to do it ourselves. So it's all a complete illusion. It's a complete illusion to think that we can take care of ourselves. We're completely dependent for every step, even if we want this fruitive mentality, to fulfill this fruitive mentality. What can we actually do? What actually can we do? We're only breathing because Krishna allows us to breathe, or we're only seeing our sense objects, or tasting the sense objects, or feeling, or whatever it is, the sense objects. We're only doing that because Krishna's allowing it. So you can see how it's an illusion. You can see. I mean, we can't, arrange for the rain to fall and the wind to blow and the sun to shine so that the environment is there, so the food can be grown. We can't do that. So how can we think that we can arrange anything for ourselves? We can only maybe, Krishna gives us a little bit of illusory ability to move things around. Yeah, and then we think, oh yeah, I have done this, or I have done that. But it's actually, when you analyze it, from this, what do they call this, Sankhya Yoga, you analyze all the material energy, and you can see how actually the jiva is there and is surrounded by this big machine of material energy. And then he has this perverted idea that he can control it and he can enjoy it because he's actually the controller and the enjoyer. He's actually thinking he's Krishna, or I am thinking that he wanted to Krishna. So that is the root of the problem, of this idea that you want to be Krishna. Envy of Krishna. So the way out of all this karma bandhana, this samsara bandhana, to be stuck, suffering in the name of trying to enjoy, is to serve Krishna. So the way to serve Krishna is for us is to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions, to follow the regulated program, to follow the sadhana. And then the consciousness comes clearer. So the more you chant, the more the consciousness, if you're chanting properly, the more the consciousness comes clearer. And as the consciousness comes clearer, then we get more and more understanding of our situation in this world. And you start to realize what a fool you are, what an idiot, what a dependent, dysfunctional person you are, and how it's all embarrassing. There's one devotee, a Prabhupada disciple in Ireland, he left his body now, but he was an orphan. He's an interesting person, but he was an orphan, and he ran away to London when he was like 16, and somehow he met the devotee, became a devotee. His name was Prabhuvana, and became a Prabhupada disciple. I think he was 17 years old, and he was running the temple in London. And he used to go on Harinam, and sometimes he'd even go out on his own, playing in the Danga, walking around London. And he did huge amounts of preaching. Anyway, what he used to say, he said, "This body is an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. Don't you feel embarrassed by your body, by your mentality, by your situation that you're in?" He said, "It's one big embarrassment." He said, "Material life is really embarrassing. You have all these desires, material desires, and then you put in all these situations because you're driven. It's not that you have these desires, you think, oh, maybe I'll fulfill that one, maybe I won't. No, you're actually driven. You're actually driven to do things. Very embarrassing. Find yourself doing all sorts of things. People, devotees, it's common, that devotees fall down, whether gross or subtle, fall down. And it's because you cannot control the senses. Being unable to control your senses is embarrassing. Like having a car, it's out of control, or a chariot. The classical example is the chariot. And you have these horses, and the horses are going everywhere because the driver has dropped the reins, or he's, oblivious of what he should be doing, or he's drunk or something. A drunk driver. Everything's gone out of control. So that's what this, from a Shastric point of view, to say this Western civilization is like a lot of drunk drivers, Everybody's out of control with sense gratification. They've really, really lost the thread. Vedic culture arranges people to have sense gratification, but it's Vedic sense. It's within the rules and regulations. It's within the parameters of spiritual culture. People that follow the karma kanda activities, and they go to the heavenly planets, and they do their spiritual activities, but they do it all for Krishna. But in the West, throw all that out. No demigods, nothing. It's just hedonism. And people think that this is, and people get really, really heavy reactions for this. So it's like a drunk driver, Somebody's driving recklessly in his car, and what's going to happen? He knows what's going to happen. He's going to smash it. Maybe smash somebody else's car, or smash into a house, and maybe kill other people. And it's going to be really disastrous results, really heavy disastrous results. Insurance company, and court cases, and it's just like you can imagine. So on a larger scale, that's what happening to the whole Western world. And India, of course, and the third world are all following suit. They're not any wiser, really. But it's just in the West, in America, are more advanced in their yet Christians. So they completely abandon any religious principles, any dharma, and they just go for this. On the past pious activities, there's some past piety, so there's so much enjoyment going on. Like in France, you can see people who are very, very pious, Yesterday we were in Le Brou, and they had this massive church. I mean, the church, you probably could put this castle, inside the church. The church was so big. So what does that mean? It means they had thousands of people coming to the church. They wouldn't build a church so big. So they actually had thousands of people interested in going to it. That means the people were very pious, at least, in terms of Christianity. So there's past pious activities, so people are enjoying, but it's starting to kick in. The reactions, the hellish reactions, are starting to kick in the form of our dear little virus, and also these disasters. Every day we're hearing about some hurricane or some flood, some tornado or some, earthquake or mudslide, or isn't it? Every day there's some new something happening. If the karma is starting to be applied, the karmic Durga Devi is doing her service, supplying all his miseries. Sinful reactions are coming in. So the way out is, as I said, the way out is to serve Krishna. It's just to get your bead bag and just, There's a joke in Ireland, and it says, if you have long-standing problems, and that means if you have problems that you've had for a long time, if you have long-standing problems, long-term problems, he said, try kneeling. Try kneeling. And I have to play on the thing, long-standing, okay, so if you kneel instead, it won't be so much for your legs. But the idea, long-standing problems, long-term problems, try kneeling. Kneeling means praying. So if you have long-standing problems, try kneeling. And so we have a long-standing problem that we're in this samsara bandhana, birth and death, and we're facing another. Not that just because you're a devotee you won't come back again. Devotees do come back again. We actually have proof of different devotees have decided taking birth again. But ISKCON, of course, but the idea is to, the goal Prabhupada set is to go back to Godhead. That is the goal Prabhupada set for us. So in order to do that, we have to become free of these material desires. We have to actually really chant, and really serve, and really surrender, and do what we have to do for everything for Krishna. So Prabhupada would always say, it doesn't mean you give up sense gratification. You just have to gratify Krishna's senses. He says, you know how to gratify your senses. If you practice, you know. But you do the same thing for Krishna. You know how to eat nicely, so let Krishna eat nicely. Or you know how to play music nicely, do it for Krishna. And he would always say that we just engage all our things for Krishna. Let Krishna be the enjoyer and stop trying to, take his place, stop trying to push Krishna off the altar and jump there yourself. That's the basic mentality. We actually had one lady do that. Just trying to put Krishna off the altar. She actually tried to push the deity. It's very offensive. Anyway, don't talk about that. It's really offensive to even mention it. But that's the mentality of wanting to take Krishna's position as the enjoyer. So we just have to turn it round and then say, oh Krishna, I'm going to serve you now. Now I'm going to serve. Instead of trying to imitate you and look after my own sense gratification, I'm going to serve Krishna, serve you. And Krishna's very kind. He doesn't hold, he doesn't hold anything against us. So even if we've been the worst criminal, it's okay. We just drop it. and become his devotee, and Krishna will forgives everything. He wipes the slate clean. That's the idea. When you take initiation, your slate is wiped clean. You know, they just clean it off. There's all the karma, the past karma. Of course, it also wipes out your good karma. You may not want to hang. Well, I'll get rid of the bad karma. I'll hang on to the whole lot. Then you're able to go back to Godhead because you don't have the need to come back in the material world because your good and bad karma have been removed. So this all happens. It's not that, this opportunity to chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead is anything we actually deserve. We don't actually deserve it. This is coming because of Prabhupada's desire, Lord Chaitanya's desire, Lord Nityananda's desire, that we're given this special offer. So as I say, it's hard for us to recognize the opportunity. It's hard for us to understand how amazing it is that we're in this situation where we don't have to make a huge endeavor. We don't have to sit and meditate for 60,000 years like Valmiki, We don't have to stand on one leg for 6 months and just breathe every 3 months, or something. What was it? Dhruva used to breathe. I think every month he would take some air or something. In the end, Dhruva Maharaj, he was he was performing Ashtanga yoga. We don't have to do anything like that. Just have to chant, and go out and try and give people books. And try and do some service. It's not a huge thing, but the result is massive. The result is it's actually beyond our comprehension. The result we will get from serving Krishna. Because our consciousnesses are covered, we don't really understand really what we're doing and really the result of what we're doing. But somehow, by Prabhupada's desire, we are trying to do, trying to serve Prabhupada, trying to serve Krishna. And Krishna somehow or another is holding us here, saying, Prabhupada said, whatever you do, don't leave the association of devotees. Just stay somehow or another. The mind will be so disturbed this way, that way, but try and stay with the devotees, because in that way you'll be purified, and then you'll start to understand more. You'll be able to actually get to the point. When you can get to the point of being liberated, when you can get to the point of like nishta, you can get your head out of the modes of nature, and you can see things for actually what they are. That's when the devotional service will actually start. Devotional service, proper devotional service. At the moment, our devotional service is mixed with goodness, passion, ignorance. But still, Krishna accepts because we give it through the parampara. The service is offered to the spiritual master, and then it's purified. So we can, even in a very unconscious or contaminated state, we can start the devotional services, because Krishna doesn't see the contamination, he sees the soul. The soul is trying to serve him. Okay. I rambled on. Everybody looks quite serious. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you say your... Yes. Doubt, yes. Doubts are good because it makes a debate.
Yes, so everything that you talked about is very much bringing out this surrender mood.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, that that is very hard for Shadman can have this hostile policy. And sometimes devotees used to try, back in the early days, devotees used to try and just give up all their material career and their family sometimes, friends. And now it seems a lot of devotees have a little bit more mature approach.
Yes.
and even sometimes leaders in our society are encouraging the devotees to make sure that we have a stable foundation in the material world, because from experience that devotees surrender, but then they prematurely surrender everything, and then they try to go back into the world, and they can't function. So, what's how do we understand this?
How do you understand it?
Should we just give up everything, or should we try to figure out at which level we are and try to...
Takes a while, doesn't it, to figure it out? Because that's all part of our being so covered that we don't even know who we are. We don't know what varna we are. We don't know what, what service we should do, or what temple we should be in, or sometimes we don't know if we're male or female even, or it's like we can be very confused, and we're confused, and then we take shelter of other people who also may be confused, and there isn't. It's not easy to figure any of it out. It just isn't easy to figure it out. All you can do is pray to Krishna. As far as I can see, people have to pray to Krishna to guide you. There's a verse, Sitam Tasham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pitapurta Sadami Buddhi Yogantam Yenamam Upayanti Te. He gives the intelligence. If you worship him with devotion, he will give you the intelligence. How to come to him. So I just rely on that, You can ask other people, you can talk to other people, you can talk to your spiritual master. But often spiritual masters, they don't want to give, specific advice, because they may be wrong. They may tell you to get married and it'll be the worst thing that you ever did, or they may tell you not to marry and it'll be the worst thing you ever did, or, so they get vaccinated. Well, you could, it's hard, So I just, personally, I just pray to Krishna. Please, Krishna. Please, Krishna. Just at least stop me going the wrong way. That's because we know what we should do. We know what we should do. We know we should chant. We know we should get up early. We know we should do service. We know we should follow 4 regs. We know all those things. And if we do those things, then everything else it's like will follow. If we do the right things, then Krishna will. I mean, my life seems to have been, there's like a lot of muddled activities, but somehow or another I just kept chanting. In situations with all kinds of crazy situations, and just somehow or another you just keep chanting and you go through, because the process is for the soul. The process is uncovering the soul. The process is not what varna we are or what service we do, or these things kind of are, they're external things. You can do any service. It's the inside of the heart of wanting to serve Krishna. That's what we have to cultivate, isn't it? So if you really cultivate that thing of Krishna, I really want to serve you, but I just think I'm going mad, or whatever it is, I just think I can't live in this temple anymore, or I can't, I can't be married to this, or whatever it is, I'm so attached to my dog, or something. You just pray, Krishna, I want to serve you, but there's all these. Please, Krishna, help me go through it. Then I just do it like that. You can ask your spiritual master, but spiritual master can also be so overwhelmed with so many people sending emails about this and about that and about this and about that. Hare Krishna. I think Raja Lakshmi put up.
When we discovered books, because we do devotee, we distribute a lot of books and public books. It's the quality in the heart, I think, how to bring the qualities like Krishna and the qualities, or to have more qualities, or distribute more books.
Well, it's not necessarily even the quantity of books. But I mean, Prabhupada wants the books to go out, so the more books go out, the better. But it's not, you might distribute one book, in a whole month. But that person becomes, you know, he becomes a sannyasi and a GBC, and he saves the whole of, you know, France or something, where somebody else might give out thousands of books and they might lie on the shelf for decades, you know.
Very attractive for the people.
Sorry?
How Krishna can shine in our heart for the people.
It's just a process. It's nothing different than the process we already have. You know, you get up in the morning, you chant your rounds, you do your service, and you take prasadam, and the next day you do the same thing. You get up in the morning, you chant your rounds, you do your service. So you just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. And then all these things will come. All these things will come. It's not that we have to make, you know, everything will come. You know, Krishna will give us, you know, intelligence, what to, you know, how to do our service nicely, and he will give us intelligence, you know, that we should deal nicely with other devotees, or we should, you know, be inspired to read books, and everything will come if we just follow the basics process. It's not that we have to figure anything out, you know. Yeah.
So it's very easy to use the 100 books in 30 minutes.
Mm.
And here when I'm in the dance with the Harinam, I turn and I do the dance. It's not for the quantity. I mean the main part of being facing Krishna then you can try and other whatever the emotion that other people have. I stay stable and I respect. And I can speak through the words, then Krishna will breathe and move like the one that Prabhupada said in the make me your protection, give me your words, for be your servant. So they will give me the book, and I look and read how to surrender 100% and give it to Krishna. And I need prayer, I need blessings, because I don't have the qualities in me. That it comes from the responsibility is blessings and Krishna blessings. And they are garden to appreciation. Just from my senses, because I can willingly or unwillingly or senses, and I have to blessings for the DNA service.
We can be Krishna's instrument, you know. We can be Krishna's instrument. Amina, what you got some contribution here?
Thinking on like some of the the outside world, when somebody has a problem, you either pay to get therapy, or you have to figure it out on your own. So it's the same with spirituality, you know. Any major thing cannot depend on a guru who has to help himself, but you have to do the work. So it's like you said, it's not easy, but seek a mutual friend.
Yeah.
So if we have that knowledge and that desire, then sooner or later it has to be. But that hard work has to do that.
But my experience is it's hard actually to admit that we're helpless. You know, we hang on to this tendency that, you know, I know what to do, or I can find the help I need, or I can do this, I can sort it out. But actually, if we realize I'm actually helpless, Prabhupada, please, you know, please Prabhupada, you know, please Krishna, please, Parampara, please help me. You know, I'm actually stupid and helpless and ignorant and so covered over and so useless. Please help me. You know, and in that more humble mood, then we can, you know, then Krishna will give help. But while we carry on thinking we can help ourselves, or we can figure it out ourselves, Krishna said, okay, well, if you figure it out, you go ahead, figure it out. But to be actually really like, Krishna, please help me, I'm in a big mess. You know? I've been chanting for more than 30 years and I still can't control my eating, you know. Krishna, please. You know? It's a heartfelt desire to, because that's a surrender, you know, that to actually admit you need help. Because it's a stage, isn't it, with the Alcoholics Anonymous, that they have to admit they need to take help for their problem. So for us, I think there's also an issue. You know, we have to actually recognize. Gandharvika, you look concerned. What is this woman saying? Let's get her out of here. Wheel that Vyasa-san out, quick.
No, I was thinking actually 2 days ago, talking with someone that sometimes we feel that not asking anything from devotees, not asking help, not complaining, this is like us trying to be humble.
Yeah.
But sometimes we see that trying to be humble and actually having a flexible is very thin line.
Yeah, there's a pride.
And
I got to have a profile. I got to keep my profile. I can't admit that.
sometimes actually being able to ask for help and say I'm struggling and doing too much in a certain situation I feel still. Actually this is really
Yes.
say I need help.
Yeah. I have to admit, I'm not the super devotee I thought I
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Oh!
Difficult is sometimes very it's the same some time ago we had this reflection that sometimes the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance can be very, very confused. Someone who is very peaceful can be seen as completely in the mode of goodness when it's actually someone completely lazy.
Yeah, he's just sleepwalking around with his bee bag in his hand, but yeah.
So yeah, sometimes illusion is very strong.
Yeah, to admit, you know, that we aren't the supreme. Because if we're the supreme being, we don't need help. You know, everything's fine. We're happy. You know, but we're not the supreme being, so we do need help. We're dependent beings. We have to admit it. We're socially dependent, and also, you
Again,
know.
we have this thin line between actually being active, giving 100% of ourselves, like putting ourselves on the side to do everything and surrender everything, and in the same time being fully dependent,
Yeah.
which means actually we're not doing anything
Yeah.
because it's not us, it's just the mercy of others that we can decide and we have some.
Well, we depend on the association of devotees.
Sometimes it's when we depend, we can have passiveness. We depend. I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do anything. I just depend. and sometimes we think that we are doing everything and thanks to our effort and thanks to us and thanks to our hard work and we deserve to have in the world and then we are unwilling to put that first.
No, we can depend on Krishna, but that means being his instrument. We can be his instrument in helping, trying to help others, or we could be his instrument in doing service. But we're always dependent on him to work through us. You know? It's always to remember that Krishna is actually the doer and he's the one doing. But still, we have to have that desire to be his instrument, or that desire to accept his help. You know? It's always putting Krishna there. Because our default position is to take Krishna out, you know, so we have to put him back and help other people put him back. Because the people will remove him, delete. It's very easy on the computer, isn't it? Delete. Okay, it's past the time, we have to finish. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you very much, tolerating my rambling nature. Okay, Hare Krishna. I don't know what happened. This